Chinese Foreign Minister rebukes U.S. ambassador to China over Taiwan. EU to impose sanctions on 7 Chinese firms for supporting Russian military. German finance minister snubbed by China ahead of scheduled talks. Chinese are ramping up purchases of Thailand real estate.
The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP's foreign minister, scolds the American ambassador to China for supporting Taiwan while seeking to improve communication lines with Beijing. According to the Wall Street Journal, Tin Gang criticized Washington in a readout during the meeting on Monday, May 8th, at the CCP Foreign Ministry. Tin told Ambassador Nicholas Burns, "We cannot focus on communication while China is constantly being suppressed and contained. You cannot say one thing and do another. Taiwan is the most sensitive issue between the US and the CCP. Beijing considers Taiwan a breakaway province that must be reunited with the mainland, by force if necessary. While the US does not formally recognize the island as an independent country, Washington has long provided Taiwan with weapons to defend itself from the CCP. The relationship between Washington and Beijing has deteriorated significantly over the past few years. The two countries have clashed over multiple issues, such as trade, human rights, and the origins of the COVID pandemic. Rising tensions between Washington and Beijing have limited communications between the two countries' leaders. Although both sides stated that they don't seek out conflict, they have struggled to reach a mutual solution to improve ties. The lack of reliable communication channels during a crisis between the two has concerned US officials. The Wall Street Journal noted that a meeting between the CCP's foreign minister and the American ambassador is good for the two countries' relations. During a virtual talk with the think tank earlier this month, Ambassador Burns signaled that the US is ready to talk with Beijing. He said, "Our view is we need better channels between the two governments, and deeper channels, and we are ready to talk." During the talk with the Washington-based Stimson Center think tank, Burns expressed concern over the CCP's recent actions against some American businesses operating in the country, saying these actions are punitive and create a hostile environment for foreign investment. He also said technology restrictions from Washington against the CCP are needed to avoid strengthening its military. For the first time since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the European Union, or EU, has proposed sanctions against Chinese companies for helping the Russian military. The latest move will likely increase tensions with the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. According to the Financial Times, the EU accused 7 Chinese firms of selling equipment used in Russian weapons in the conflict. As a result, the bloc has introduced a new set of penalties, and EU member states will discuss the matter this week. All 27 member states must approve the sanction list before implementing it. The US has already sanctioned some of the companies on the list. 2 mainland China-based companies, 3HC Semiconductors and Kingpai Technology, and 2 Hong Kong-based firms, Sino Electronics and Sigma Technology, are on the US sanctions list. These firms are accused of providing Russia with microelectronics and US origin items. The EU, in the sanctions proposal, said that it is appropriate to include certain other entities in third countries involved in the circumvention of trade restrictions, as well as certain Russian entities involved in the development, production, and supply of electronic components for Russia's military and industrial complex. Last month, the Ukrainian military found an increasing number of made-in-China components in Russian weapons used in the Ukraine war, as Western parts are in short supply due to sanctions. The CCP Foreign Minister Tin Gang claimed last month that Beijing wouldn't provide arms to either side of the Russia-Ukraine war. China has abruptly called off a meeting on May 10th between German Finance Minister Christian Lindner and his counterpart in Beijing. According to Bloomberg, a spokeswoman for the German Finance Ministry, Nadine Kohlwey, said the Chinese side cancelled the meeting at short notice, citing logistical difficulties. The real reason behind the postponement is unclear. However, Reinhard Bütikofer, a Greens member of the European Parliament, believed it could be related to Taiwan. The finance minister leads the Free Democrats Party, which sent over the education and research minister to the self-ruling island in March. At the time, China called the move an egregious act. Bütikofer tweeted on May 8th, "We will not let Beijing dictate our China and Taiwan policy." Nikkei Asia pointed out that the FDP is known for criticizing Beijing for disregarding human rights, economic games on countries, and its plan to annex Taiwan by force. China sanctioned Bütikofer and 9 other politicians in the EU in March 2021, accusing them of severely affecting its interests and sovereignty, as well as disinformation. On the other hand, Germany under Chancellor Olaf Scholz has recently drawn criticism for its soft attitude towards Beijing in the US-China tensions. The country is Berlin's most important trading partner, having 8% of its exports going to the Chinese market, according to the World Bank. Lindner's intended visit to Beijing was to talk about cooperation on finance, ahead of a meeting of G7 finance ministers in Japan on May 11th through the 13th. As Politico reported in April, Berlin wants to use its dialogue with China to dissuade Beijing from worsening the Taiwan situation, and urge it against backing Russia's conflict in Ukraine. Having survived the pandemic, the Chinese are now looking to rebuild their lives in China's southern neighbor, Thailand. Mesak Chunharakchot, the Thai Real Estate Association president, told Reuters, "There is definitely demand from China for properties in Thailand. Thailand has become a hotspot for Chinese tourists since reopening its borders." Trip.com data showed that Thailand ranked first among outbound destinations for Chinese tourists during the May Labor Day holiday, followed by Japan and South Korea. Mesak noted that Chinese buyers are particularly interested in offers in big cities like the capital Bangkok, Chiang Mai in the north, Pattaya, a famous coastal city, and the Isan region. Property agent Owen Ju said buyers from China are interested in luxury apartments, noting that house prices in Thailand are relatively lower. For example, with $290,000 or 2 million yuan, house hunters are still looking for a decent home or a desirable location in first-tier cities in China. Ju said, with that money they can buy a luxury apartment in the heart of Bangkok. Therefore, some would sell one of their houses in China and buy a property here for retirement. Mesak said the southeastern country is also attractive for its international schools and quality medical centers. For example, Reuters recounted that the percentage of Chinese students at Singapore International School Bangkok grew from 12 to 13% early this year, or by 400 for a total of 3,100 students on 4 campuses, exceeding the figure of 6% before the 2019 pandemic began. The 3 painful years of the pandemic are believed to have fueled the trend. Shanghai resident Daniel Bien, looking for high-end apartments in Bangkok, told Reuters, "I feel alive. I feel free." Bien said, "The freedom to enter or leave the country, to travel back and forth, as well as the freedom of society and life. Freedom is very important,